So, let me ask you this. Is there anything more powerful than our sense of nostalgia? It's one of the only feelings I can think of that truly determines and even distorts who we are at all levels. Nostalgia can often blind us to the truths of our past as it pushes us to seek similar lives in our future. For example, we all have those shows, movies, and songs that we loved as a kid and swore up and down that they were amazing all the way into our adulthoods, only to finally revisit them with a wiser mind years later and realize they were actually god-awful and we were probably awful people forever thinking they were good. We all have memories of people, places, and events being much better or worse than they actually were. We gradually build these memories up in our minds over the years until our recollection of them is completely unrecognizable from their original state. It's not until an unbiased party informs us much later that nothing really happened the way we remembered it. But at that point, it's too late. You've already developed aspects of your personality, made important life decisions, and built your life around those experiences and pieces of art from your past that meant so much to you. If there's anyone who can speak on the power of nostalgia, it's myself and any other creators like me who literally have made careers pandering to people's strong connections to retro entertainment. Nostalgia is incredibly powerful, but that also makes it incredibly dangerous. In a certain sense, nostalgia is like a drug, not a hard narcotic that can hook you with one hit, but more like a potent gateway drug that's harmless enough to indulge in every now and then, but overindulgence can have very negative effects. Making videos for this channel requires me to tap into my nostalgia. It requires me to go back to art that I remember from my past and think critically about the effect it had on me. Then I have to share those thoughts and feelings with you in an entertaining way. I don't always get to the entertaining part, but I try my best. I've always had a fear about it though. The fear of being consumed by nostalgia. Not just a fear of the very time and energy consuming process of making these videos, but the fear of getting stuck in the past, constantly thinking back to when art was better or when life was easier, regardless of how accurate those statements might actually be. Whenever I think about this, I, ironically, remember a show I used to watch when I was a kid. A show that maybe I shouldn't have been watching as a kid, but I'm very happy that I did because unlike the types of shows I mentioned in the beginning of the video that were never good or aged terribly, this show aged like Angela Bassett sipping a fine wine. The show I'm talking about is Futurama, and I'm sure, even if you've never watched it, you have at least heard or know something about it. Needless to say, I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid. And that includes kid cartoons, anime, and more adult cartoons like Family Guy, The Simpsons, The Boondocks, this too, I guess.
All right, what do you want to do?
Do you want to make love, darling?
What did you say to me?
Futurama always stood out to me because, much like the other great cartoons from my childhood that have managed to stand the test of time, it had a great balance of goofy comedy and very sad and emotional moments. Seriously, I think every Futurama fan remembers the first time they saw the episode with the 7-leaf clover, or the episode with Leela's bee sting hallucinations, or the episode where Fry gets to talk to his mother one last time, or, of course, that episode where the dog waited a literal lifetime outside the pizza shop for Fry to come back, but he never does because he got frozen in the time chamber, and I mean, look at him. He's in the rain and he's crying little puppy tears and he's getting all old and dying and... Alright, hold up. I just need a second. Okay, we're back. But yeah, Futurama had a very uncanny ability to drop some of the most heartfelt and sobering shit right in your lap when you least expected it. But the episode that reminds me and probably even inspired my nostalgia-based fear is episode 6 titled A Fish Full of Dollars. The episode is all about the main character Fry, who's down on his luck mostly for being a broke loser, going to the bank and finding out that his account that he opened up 1,000 years ago had been accruing money the whole time he was asleep. And hey, wouldn't you know it, he's rich.
$4.3 billion.
Fry initially celebrates his newfound wealth with your typical extravagant rich nigga shenanigans, but eventually he realizes that what he really wants is to be able to experience life like it was back in the 20th century where he's from. He spends a large sum of his money on an old 20th century style apartment. He goes to an auction and buys a bunch of old VHS tapes and items from his childhood, and he stops going to work or even going outside altogether. So after buying all these very expensive relics of his past, all he does is sit in his home all day and night watching old TV shows and reminiscing about the life and times that he lost. He becomes a complete recluse, but to Fry, this is what he wants out of life.
Chunk, maybe you can't understand this, but I finally found what I need to be happy. And it's not friends, it's things.
Fry loses himself while overindulging in his nostalgia. He was ripped out of his world and thrown into a new one, and even though he ended up finding people who cared about him and was able to create a life for himself in this new and strange reality, as soon as he was able to escape back to his world, he took that escape, no matter how destructive of a decision it was. As I said earlier in the video, I grew up watching cartoons, and most of my childhood was spent alone, watching television, playing video games, drawing pictures, playing guitar, pretty much exclusively introverted and solitary-ass activities. I even vividly remember getting really into solitaire at some point in my childhood. That's how bad my level of self-isolation used to be. I was a solitaire expert. I was even playing free cell and shit like that. Dark times. Dark times. I had friends, but still, most of my time growing up was spent alone, immersing myself in some form of art and entertainment. And if I did happen to be socializing with people, usually my only thoughts were about wanting to get home so I could be by myself and just indulge more into my own hobbies. Sitting alone in a small room and watching old shows or playing old games is my comfort zone. It's what feels the most natural to me when I don't know what else to do. I still have friends now, I still have responsibilities and obligations, but because of how I grew up and my nostalgia for that upbringing, my brain often seems to naturally default to choosing solitude and isolation over socializing and trying new things. I was this way before I started this channel, but now that I made this channel, my incentive to stay in and watch the same shows I've watched for years has become more than just a personal incentive. Now it has legitimate creative and monetary benefits because of these videos and all of you who watch them. And being able to say that I get paid to talk about my favorite TV shows and movies is a good thing. It's honestly a blessing, and I don't want to ever feel like it's not. But again, there's still that fear of ending up like Fry in this episode. There have been so many times that I've chosen working on this channel over friends and family. There have been many times that I've chosen to revisit a show or a movie from my past just for the sake of making a video over watching something new that everyone else is watching and talking about. Indulging in the nostalgia of my past has caused me to miss out on countless new experiences in my present. And sometimes it does scare me to think that I'll never have enough time to make up for what I've missed. But at the end of the day, there's pros and cons to every decision. I chose to make the Chill Review channel. I chose to make videos on retro art, and I chose to dedicate as much time as I have to those videos. I guess as long as I'm aware of that decision and aware of the cost, then that means I haven't truly lost myself in it. Or at least maybe that's what I just tell myself. And I know I've been yapping about me and my problems for the last few minutes, but really my hope is that you can relate to this yourself in some way. For anyone else watching this who might feel like they're trapped by their nostalgia or something else from their past, regardless of the reason, it's never too late to escape that. I know as much as anyone how easy it is to just default to feelings of the past because, for a lot of us, that's where our happiest moments reside. But as corny as it sounds, the past is the past, and it's not meant for us to dwell in. It's meant for us to learn from and improve upon. We should strive to make things better than they were and better than they are. It took Fry losing everything he had before he realized what was really important. For my sake and for yours, I hope we never hit that point before we learn what really means the most in our lives.